beautiful day for a game.
I give you Victor Suero.
Move your feet! Move your feet!
He will provide a level of competition we've never seen before.
So, you are going to get me my money with your little boxing match.
I'm gonna get you the money, okay?
I don't get how our beautiful little sister Josie suffers.
I read up on you a little bit. That's how I knew that I could help you.
What is this?
Sport in its purest form, a hunt to kill.
The hunt is 24 hours. Anyone you run into could be the last person you ever see. Deposits increase every hour for a total of $24.5 million. New York's a city that survives. Did he kill another one?
Over $1 billion's been invested in this event. Do you understand what I'm telling you?
I'm on top of this, I assure you.
Shall I?
His life, as he knows it, it's gone. He'll try to change his appearance, try to disappear. But there's one thing he can't escape, his heart.
You said you'd protect me forever. Can't do that if you get yourself killed.
Underdogs sometimes win, remember that. Welcome to the big leagues. You're sick? No, I'm just managing a game.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cherry the Geek TV. I'm Joe Vanourney. David Castañeda is with us today. He is starring as Victor Suero in the new series, Most Dangerous Game New York, which drops on the Roku channel March 10th. David, welcome to Cherry the Geek TV.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you for having me.
I was wondering, let's talk about Victor, right? Who is he? What are his motivations? Why would he agree to participate in this crazy hunt where he's going to be hunted across New York for 24 hours? What attracted you to the script and this character?
Well, it sounds bananas, right? It sounds bananas that someone would really put themselves through this sort of, this sort of wild ride without any real reason. And I feel like when you have a down and out sort of underground fighter who's just trying to make ends meet to support his sister, and his sister who ends up in a big debt, that he'll never be able to pay off. You sort of put yourself in a position where you're going to have to go with Christoph Waltz, and Christoph Waltz is going to be the man that's going to save your day and is probably going to kill you. And what a great way to start a relationship with someone that you really look up to. So that was sort of the beginning of my interest in joining Most Dangerous Game, which is, who doesn't want to do something for the family, and who doesn't want to work with Christoph Waltz?
Let's talk about Christoph Waltz. Two-time Academy Award winner, Christoph Waltz. Great in Tarantino films, Inglourious Bastards and Django Unchained. Were you a fan of his before you were cast in this? And what was that experience like getting to work with him?
Since I was in college, I mean, I was, I've known, because I'm a big Tarantino fan, like probably my favorite filmmaker. So when I saw, him in Inglourious Bastards, I was like, man, whoever gets the chance to work with this man is, he's going to be up there. And then, when I got the opportunity to meet him, I couldn't just, I don't really fanboy as much, but when I got to meet him, I was definitely nervous. Then I got to a certain point where I got comfortable enough to tell him, like, you're the only reason to join the show, just an FYI. Very vulnerable for me to say that to someone I look up to, but it was the reason, and I stick by it.
He's very good at playing sinister charming, I guess would be the way to describe him, right? He's very charming, but there's the little layer of sinister underneath him where you're not quite sure where he's gonna strike.
Yeah, he's like the uncle at the party that's gonna say, "I'm gonna show you a magic trick, but first bring me a beer," you know. And they're like, "Why do you want the beer for?" You're like, "You want to drink it, or you want to throw it over and break someone's head off? Like, what are we, what are you trying to do with it? You know?"
So the Most Dangerous Game started as a short story 100 years ago. I think the short story came out in 1924. They adapted it into a film in 1932. And since 1932, there have been dozens of iterations of this story, right? I think it might be the most adapted story other than maybe A Christmas Carol. There's been films, the Jean-Claude Van Damme film Hard Target, Surviving the Game with Ice-T. In 2020, there's a movie called The Hunt. It's been a radio drama. It's been storylines in comic books. There's been dozens of episodic television episodes from series in the 70s and 80s and 90s where they had this story. What makes Most Dangerous Game New York, with all these other iterations out there, what sets this one apart? What makes it unique and different from all those other versions that came before?
Oh man, I mean, you are well versed in all of them. My goodness, I thought there was only Hard Target and the short story, but I, you know, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I think the common denominator with all of these stories is the title in itself and what it represents. And I feel like as long as we are able to maintain that common denominator, I feel like we can sort of make it successful in its own way and kind of hold its own against all these other stories. For me personally, I always enjoyed the opportunity of someone ordinary getting stuck in something extraordinary. And to have Victor with the opportunity to not just save his sister's life, but sort of set her up for the rest of his life. I mean, that is an opportunity that not everyone gets thrown at them on a day-to-day basis. And I feel like as an audience, we would ask ourselves, would I be open to trying that? Could I try that? And would I survive? And I feel like that sort of question that being poses is probably the reason why these shows and these films sort of continue to be successful.
I've seen a lot of the different versions of this story over the years, and I think this version, the Most Dangerous Game New York, is up there in the top. I think that it. Wow. Normally, when I'm watching shows preparing for interviews, sometimes it feels like homework, right? I kind of like, oh, I got to sit through this and do this interview. I didn't feel like this at all. I was in, I binged it, and I was like, oh, this is a great version of this story. I like the use of the technology. I think is one of the things that makes it different. You have the each hour, top of the hour, the hunters are made aware through GPS technology of Victor's location, and the fact that it's more of a long form story as opposed to just like a 2-hour movie or a episode of a series. I think that makes it unique and adds to the quality of the project.
Oh, thanks, Joe. That means a lot, man. Thank you so much.
So a good hero is only as good as his adversaries, right? You got to have adversaries in order to make the story work. There are 5 hunters in this Most Dangerous Game that are hunting Victor. What can you tease to the audience that hasn't seen this yet about what they can expect from these 5 hunters and what makes those, maybe their weapons or the settings of where the fights are going to happen? What's unique about that?
Well, my own backstory within all these hunters is that there are just disgustingly rich people out there that are so bored with their lives that all they do, or part of their money, is it goes into training assassins and to keep them in shape for when the game happens and to make sure they send them off, and I feel like that's sort of the caliber of the people that come in, that they're so crazy and they're so messed up, and each one of them has their own intro, or at least they present themselves and they sort of say where they come from. So you kind of get an idea that none of these people are doing it for very honorable reasons. They're just doing it for the reason of, I just want to kill you. And it sort of just gives this sort of this darkness Victor has to face, and there's no talking himself out of any of the killers that come around. So, and each of them obviously have their own skills. They have their own weaponry, weapon of choice, but no one can use guns. And that's the thing. That's the part of the game that makes it very interesting, which is like all hand-to-hand or some sort of weapons, but no firearms.
Well, we are sadly out of time. Before we go, though, I got one quick question. Umbrella Academy season 4 coming up. Season 3 ended with a universe reset, right? Everybody lost their powers. What can you tease to the fans of Umbrella Academy, what they can expect in this 4th and final season?
I've read up to 4 episodes, and I will say that this is my favorite. And I feel like we're going to end it in a way that fans are going to be happy and sad.
In the meantime, you can catch David in Most Dangerous Game New York. All episodes drop on March 10th on Roku channel. David, thank you so much for chatting with us today on Cherry the Geek TV.
Thank you, Joe. I really appreciate it.
Take care.